Y'all want to do something a little fun today? Let's talk about automotive terms that some of you may not know. Now, there was a guy, I was watching a Lincoln video, and he was talking about how the rear area of where the speakers are behind the rear seats caught on fire. And he kept calling it that upper area, or that rear speaker area, which by all means we would eventually figure out what he's talking about. The proper name for that area, if you guys haven't guessed, and it's right above the back seats underneath the rear window, it's called a package tray. It's your package tray. If you were to type in Google 2006 Lincoln Town Car package tray, you would come up with that entire support area, a metal piece that could be basically de-welded, spot welded out, and a new area that you could weld in. That area is called the package tray. Behind the rear seats, below the rear window, right where your speakers are mounted, and there's like a shelf area right there in the back, right back there. Another term would be 710 cap. Do you know where your 710 cap is? Yeah, it's kind of a weird term. Most people haven't heard it before. 710 cap. If you look at your oil cap, OIL, flip it upside down, it looks like 710. So your oil cap, in slang terms, could be called your 710 cap. Kind of weird, right? Your Prindle switch, Prindle viewing area. Prindle. If you look at your shifter area, PRNDL, park reverse neutral drive low. Some people have park reverse neutral drive 2-1 or 2L, whatever it may be, but your Prindle is that area right in there. PRNDL, park reverse neutral drive low. That's where your area of viewing is for your actual spot that you're in, or shifter, selector, lever wise. What if I asked you what a dog bone was? Would you know what a dog bone was in a vehicle, an automotive slang term? Dog bone. Most people have never even heard of this term before, dog bone. It's actually a question on an ASE test because it was such a well-known, often used slang term since the 80s when we started mounting engines transversely, that it became an actual ASE question. If you were to replace one of the transverse engine mounts that looked like round on one side, flat, and then round, looks like a dog bone. It's the slang term for a engine mount, or anything of that shape can be called a dog bone, but the slang term for a transverse engine mount, transverse mounted engine mount, is a dog bone. I'm not sure if you guys knew that, but that was it's another slang term that's actually made its way into the proper testing for ASE testing. It's one of the questions I saw in there years ago when I first took my ASE testings. Another term used would be white smoke. You let the white smoke out of it. Well, you see a lot of mechanics and DIY guys doing some testing on their own. They get a hold of a module and they think they understand how the module works. They're trying to test for power on a ground supplied side driver, or supply ground to a power side driver, and they end up shorting out the system and they let the white smoke out of it. So I've seen that happen in the field before. Oh, you let the white smoke out of it? Yeah, the computer's toast. You might want to go price out a new one. Get it coming. You let the white smoke out of it. How about cotton candy? Yeah, it's an automotive term. Or that green fuzzy stuff. You know what I'm talking about now? Some of you may know when I say that. Clean the cotton candy off of it. It's all that fuzzy corrosion stuff that people let build up on their battery terminals, and they just let it fester and fester and fester. I don't know how many cars come into the shop and we explain to the customer, I have a cleaner that I can use. It's going to take me about 10-15 minutes to do it thoroughly, where I'm going to remove your battery cables, clean them, rod them inside and out. Everything's going to get done. And I will pull your terminals apart, clean it with some acid cleaner, and I'll go ahead and treat your terminals and stuff so this doesn't happen for a long time, or for the life of the battery at all. We can keep up on it to monitor it, make sure it doesn't happen again. That green fuzzy stuff that likes to grow in those battery terminals that eventually end up growing so much that it splits the battery terminals in half, and sometimes the customers are paying up to $1,100-$1,200 to replace harnesses. That's a topic for one of my next videos on a notorious problem with a Ford engine and harness type that this constantly happens with. What if I called you a hoonigan? What do you think that means? A hoonigan or a hoon? Remember that movie Mad Max? Driving fast and reckless everywhere? That guy drives like a hoon. Where you see people driving down the road, it says hoonigan on the back of it. You see a lot of these new circuit track and race car drivers that are just crazy fast and reckless when they drive, but they're very good at it. Hoon. H-O-O-N. You brought your car into the shop, you just got into an accident. I look at the car and I say, it'll buff out. It'll buff out is a term saying, it'll be alright. We'll get it worked out. Or it's just a comical way of saying, that's pretty messed up. Sorry for you. It'll buff out. Depending on how you use it. What if I called something a fart can? Do you know what it was? Man, that thing's got a loud fart can on it. Oh. It's one of those fart can cars. Some people would call it a gas can. I call it a fart can. And you kind of, it's one of those aftermarket mufflers, those big old giant loud, they hang on the back of the 4-cylinder Hondas that are going nowhere fast. Yeah. I was once riding, I had an 86 Chevy C10 with a Forbes 355 in it, Ford 9-inch rear end, Mickey Thompson slicks, and I had some street slicks on it, and we were going to go fill it up. I just got done firing up the motor for the first time. I didn't have enough fuel in it, so we were just going to run it straight down to the gas station after we finished the initial break-in. And I'm with my girlfriend's kid at the time. He's sitting in the passenger side of the vehicle, and he hears this Honda coming. He says, "Hey, Rich, wait. Listen. I'm gay. I was like, oh my God, this is coming from a 10-year-old. And nobody taught him this. It's something he learned from his friends. I don't know, maybe one of them picked it up with his dad. But a gas can, a fart can, you know. And I was dying. And mind you, I'm in this like 400 and some horse with no spray Chevy pickup truck. For the first time, just broke in this engine that we just got done putting Edelbrock E Street heads on it, and 9,000 RPM valve springs, and a turbo 400 transmission. I mean, 2009 GMC Storm Gray paint job on a rotisserie, kind of like the whole shebang. I had $32,000 in this truck. I mean, I really adjustable air ride suspension, or you could shut the air ride suspension off and hook it all into the aftermarket suspension that was actually professionally built for the truck. But just to hear this kid is, I'm gay. I was like, what? Oh, it was the highlight of my year. I mean, it's funny coming from a 10-year-old. You remember that old term, jalopy? That old jalopy? That reminds me of a song, that country song. That old jalopy daddy gave to me, it had holes in the floor and just a 305. But I didn't care, cause I could finally drive. Remember that song? Yeah, that's a good song. An old jalopy was just an old junk vehicle. Didn't mean it was a bad vehicle, it just meant it was an old junk, wore out vehicle. That's some of the old terms. Some of these things we don't even hear anymore, you know. It's lot of these things have fallen by the wayside, and a lot of the old terms and things that we used to use that make sense don't make sense to a lot of people anymore. They just I just wanted to touch base on some things that maybe if some of you didn't know, maybe some of you are curious what some of the things meant. This is just a different video for me. Something be a little bit more fun. I appreciate y'all. Be blessed.